Hi and welcome to this course on Reckon APS Tax Year-End Rollover. My name is Tanya and today we'll cover the following agenda. We'll firstly look at why you would want to complete a tax rollover, then the prerequisites to complete the rollover, and finally take you through on a step-by-step guide of performing the tax rollover process. The major benefit of completing the tax rollover process is so you can track your tax return due dates and lodgement progress. Reporting notifications are further enhanced with the addition of Practice IQ and Business Process Automation modules. Returns need to exist in the database for the ATO due date to be populated, and from there the full ATO client list can be downloaded. You need these two things in order to be able to track your due dates against the returns that you created. The following items need to be completed before the tax form rollover can be performed. This includes standard matters need to be set up for the new year. New matters must be attached to each client. The process engine must contain a rollover step that is in a non-editable state. Your default tax process automatically allows for this. However, if you've altered the process, you will need to review this. The appropriate security rights to perform the tax rollover must be granted. Please refer to the workbook for further information on these areas. We've assumed you have this in place and we can now look at the tax rollover process. As you complete your tax rollover, the following steps should be considered. A database backup. The rollover process has an undo option, in that if returns are created in bulk, in error, then a process to bulk delete returns is available. However, the bulk deletion of returns is usually turned off and would need to be activated through your GoAdmin security to enable this function. An alternative would be to perform a database backup with the assistance of your IT administrator. Conservatively, you would do this after hours, complete the backup whilst no users are connected to the software, and complete your tax rollover before the users are allowed back onto the software. This way, if you make an error, you simply restore the database and redo the process. There is no risk of deleting unnecessary returns. Once you've decided on your process of backup, you can then ensure that the prerequisites have been met. You may need to refer to the Practice Management Year-End Matter Rollover course to complete your General Matter Rollover. Number 3. Identify which standard matters have tax return launch links. This could be just one, i.e. a tax returns year-based tax return matter, or you may have multiple year-based matters that you allow tax returns to be attached to. For example, some workflow sites may use an annual compliance matter for their business clients. They may use a salary and wage or a tax return matter for their non-business clients. They might also have a separate matter for superannuation. Standard matters are important as the rollover for tax returns is done on a standard matter basis. Number 4. Identify your selection criteria for your bulk rollover. Some practices have different processes for different departments or partners and may have different timing requirements. So check in with your tax champions to ensure you understand your tax team's requirements. Number 5. Ensure you know what tax system your forms will be created in. There are two choices, Elite or Reckon APS Tax. If your practice is transitioning to Reckon APS Tax for the first time, then you may consider the timing of when you perform your tax rollover. You may wait until your champions have reviewed the forms and completed their training, as returns for the same family group that share distributions or sharing within the return will need to be using the same tax form system. Returns can be rolled on an individual basis until the team is ready to complete the full tax rollover. Let's take a look at batch processing option to complete the rollover of tax forms in a bulk way. Once you've opened the batch processing application, click on Selector to select your forms that you wish to roll over. A filter screen will be applied. You may have saved a filter from the previous year, so look at your saved filters. If you look at the year-end rollover filter, typically the following items are considered. Within your tax area, you have a tax year. Simply double-click on the tax year and select the current year that you would wish to roll. In our example, we're going to show you the 2015 rolled year to 2016. This could be changed to reflect the current year that you're in. The other area that is typically used for a tax rollover is return type. We have individual, company, partnership, super fund and trust that is a rollable form type. Some practices will split this into different batches and complete the rollover batches per return type for a particular year. The other item to consider is the return status. Return status, you may only be interested in rolling over returns that are either sent for signing or greater, or excluded sent for signing. If you don't want one of those items, just delete them. The third item that you may consider if you have more than one standard matter for tax forms attached is whether you actually have a tax year-end rollover for each return form type. In this example, we have two return types, annual accounts and our tax returns that are year-based. So that when we do our rollover process, we are forced to do it by standard matter type, the filter has also then been applied for the particular year. This makes it easy to know which returns have been rolled and which ones haven't. So in the first example, we're going to do our annual accounts rollover. The annual accounts that have all been at sent for signing or greater will then appear on your left hand side. Simply select all of those returns that meet your selection criteria and right click and add those to your selection. Select Next. You're then presented with the task. We're going to select Rollover. Then you're asked to select your process type. You may have more than one tax process. You need to select the process type for this rollover. You're then presented with your From standard matter, and this is where we've done our filter already for the annual accounts standard matter. We're rolling it to the annual accounts 2016 matter, and we need to know what system we're rolling these forms into. Once we apply the filter, your screen will now change. You'll be presented with the ones that are eligible for rollover, and they will be selected. And you'll also see anything deselected by default if the return exists. Once you're ready to apply that filter, select Apply. It will confirm that you're about to roll over the returns. For the rollover from 2016 onwards, we've changed the rollover process. So when you see the returns going through, it will actually take a little amount of time. This is because the rollover process is rolling over the shell of the return. The reason why the rollover status is a non-editable field means that when we go and open one of these returns for the first time, if I look at Elf Family Trust, it will actually then ask the user to roll in the information. We can see here we have the rolled over return for the Elf Family Trust. We need to change this return to started, and the first time that that return is opened, the rollover for that information for that tax return is occurring. So it's at this point where it may take a couple of seconds per return to open. This makes your whole batch processing rollover a lot quicker. We estimate that the whole complete batch rollover shouldn't take anything more than 5 minutes for a standard practice. Once you've completed the first rollover, you would then go back and do your second batch. So going back into tax processing, go back to your selector, and in this case we're now going to do the second standard matter. This time, instead of being annual accounts 2015, it's actually tax returns. So I would save this, So I could reuse this next year and simply change the year for the next year forward. Again, in our case, we're just going to leave it at 2015 and ensure that we're happy with our return status and return type. We have a batch of returns to process that meet that criteria. We add it to the selection, select Next, and complete the rollover tasks. The default process and the tax return 2015 to 2016. Likewise, these will be returned year on year. Making sure our to system is the system that we wish to apply. Select Apply and process your returns. Keep repeating this for each of your selection criterias. In Tax Manager, you can also roll in the return individually if you choose to by selecting the Roll option here to complete the rollover on an individual basis. Once that's been done, again, it will roll in the information as and when the form is created. This really completes your bulk tax return rollover and your individual return rollover. Our learning outcomes. Ensure your practice management matter rollover process has been completed. The new year tax form software must be installed before the rollover can occur. Tax rollover doesn't have to be completed immediately. It can be repeated several times to catch returns that have not been rolled previously. You may perform one rollover at the start of the next year, as well as ongoing after all the returns for the previous years have been lodged. Practices that are new to the Reckon APS tax forms may hold off rollover until champion user training has been completed. Returns can be rolled individually until this point. We've successfully completed the tax rollover process using the batch processing tool. On behalf of the Reckon Training Academy, if you need any further support, please contact us, and we thank you for your time.